Are you looking for a jumpstart that can solve your writer's block? You're in luck. Because in this very place, in the endless expanses of the internet, you've found it. I've got 5 unbeatable tips for you on how to overcome your writer's block and get a waterfall of words flowing across your keyboard in no time. You're guaranteed to get closer to your goal of writing a term paper, bachelor's thesis, or your next best-selling novel. And now, without further ado, welcome to Shribe. Many thanks to Shribe for sponsoring this video. More about Shribe later. Can you relate to this? There is no time left for more procrastination and you finally have to deliver. The deadline for your project is already looming and you've freed up all the time you can for your work. But you can't find more than the heading Introduction and a sinister ticking cursor in your Word document. Although you're actually good at the subject, the ball doesn't quite want to get rolling. You've already typed the first sentence 3 times and discarded it again, because it just sounds ridiculous. The longer you look at the empty document, the more invincible the opponent seems. That darn 15-page paper. So what can you do to solve your writer's block? First, recognize the true opponent. The first thing to do is to face your greatest adversary, face to face, in the mirror. Because the biggest opponent is not your project, but yourself. Everything is a matter of motivation, of priorities, discipline, and perseverance. The biggest mistake you can make is to develop a negative attitude. The subject is stupid, the lecturer sucks, and you have to work on the weekend. Once you've started to allow such thoughts, you enter into a negative spiral. You won't get out of this thinking anytime soon. Therefore, it is even more important to link your project with positive thoughts. Is the topic boring? Well, examine it from an unprecedented perspective. Is the lecturer a jerk? Show him what you're made of. Do you have to use your hard-earned free time to write? Make writing your hobby. Don't let external conditions spoil your fun. Strengthen your attitude from within. Make the writing process an event. You can write a term paper on the beach, in a cozy Starbucks, or at home in bed. How awesome is that? Once you've powered up mentally, it's time for the next step. 2. Determine your writing type. When it comes to writing, there are 2 different types of people. First, let me say that there is no one type that is better or worse than the other. However, in case of a total blackout, one of the 2 might be a little better able to solve his or her writer's block. Type 1. The perfectionist. Personally, I definitely belong to this group of people. When I write a sentence, it has to be perfect right away. I'd rather rewrite it 5 times instead of just getting on with it and torturing myself with a tedious revision later. As a result, my writing progress is a little slower. In the end, however, I save the time again because the first draft is usually already good enough for my needs. In addition, I tend to write very densely. By that, I don't mean that I'm drunk or stoned while writing, but that I need less text for the content. In scientific papers, this often leads me to having too little text available. Then I have to think afterwards about where I could still add meaningful text modules. Type 2. The explorer. This type embodies exactly the opposite of a perfectionist. Without giving it much thought, the explorer just writes. The words pour over the pages so that within the shortest time the complete amount of the required pages is filled. People who claim to have written 7 pages of their paper in one day are explorers. They get started and look afterwards to see where this has taken them. For me, it's impossible to write that much at once. That's because explorers put their first draft down on paper without regard for typos or other minor weaknesses. A text written so quickly is often very light on content. By this I mean that the content is conveyed with the help of a larger number of words. At the end of a project, explorers often have written more than what was expected of them. So explorers finish very quickly, but must allow time to revise the draft and shorten it. Now what? So how do these types behave when they have writer's block? Well, first, perfectionists have the potential to write great work. If you deliver the perfect draft in the first try, that's exceptionally good. But if you insist on remaining a perfectionist when you're experiencing writer's block, you're doomed. This leads us to step 3. Get rid of your perfectionism. If you don't produce any text at all, or only very little, you're facing a problem. The pressure is mounting. That's why, when you have writer's block, it can be useful to remember the virtues of the Explorer. Text is still better than no text. Later on, you can still let your perfectionism rule, but during writer's block, it's your death sentence. This is where getting into the writing flow matters. Correcting spelling, grammar, or expression is something you can do once you've cracked the magic page number. Be sure to allow time for this, because turning in a sloppy draft is not the point, of course. As an explorer, however, you make progress piece by piece. You notice how something is happening. The pages in your document become more and more. This is good for your confidence and takes the pressure off your shoulders. In contrast to perfectionists who remain on the first page, explorers are the ones who are unleashed. Now, before we continue with step 4, let me just say a few words about the sponsor of this video, Shribe. If you are looking for a proofreading service or plagiarism check for your scientific work, I can wholeheartedly recommend the team at Shribe. Just have a look at shribe.com and send me a short email at info@shribe.eu for an exclusive coupon code. Step 4. Keep a diary. A popular exercise for perfectionists who are blocked: journal writing. Grab your journal, calendar, or open a blank document and start writing. Formulate sentences about how you're currently sitting in front of your laptop writing. Look out the window and just type into the keyboard whatever pops into your head. It doesn't matter if these words make sense or not. The main thing is that you write. Alternatively, you can think of a little story. Just keep writing. Do this for about 10 minutes and then seamlessly move on to your project. You'll be amazed, but your fingers are much looser on the trigger than before. 5. Use your flow experience. If one or a combination of these methods and techniques has led you to get the first sentences down on your paper, by all means keep at it. Don't get carried away and interrupt the flow again. Instead, grab your keyboard and use it as your surfboard. That way you can ride the flow wave and move inexorably toward finishing your work. Here you can take advantage of a principle that is actually known from physics. Once you get the proverbial ball rolling, you need less energy to keep it rolling than it took you to get it started. Believe me, once you get started, the rest of your work is a breeze. Now stretch your finger muscles and get ready for your writing marathon. Let's go.